Joining me now to discuss is Democratic Congressman and chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Stephen Horsford of Nevada. Greetings to you, sir. I want to start where I left off, the debt ceiling negotiations. What do you know about negotiations at this moment?
Well, first of all, thank you, Symone, for having me. I'm here in South Carolina in front of the Emmanuel AME Church. We were leading the launch of our Democracy for the People launch with Congressman Jim Clyburn, and I'm so thankful that you started your segment on the issues that you are, because this is about actually making work pay for itself, making sure that people actually can have family-sustaining jobs that provide enough pay to cover housing and childcare and transportation. So instead of Republicans holding our economy hostage by not paying our raising the debt limit, they are literally risking millions of jobs, more than 8 million jobs that could be lost if we're not able to reach agreement. Now, I hear promising things. I know Mr. Clyburn had remarks with the president yesterday, and so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to reach an agreement soon, but we're just days away, and it's time for Republicans to vote with Democrats on a clean debt ceiling so that we can save our economy and prioritize our budget and our spending going forward.
Congressman, let's talk about when and if a bill does manifest itself. What would be a red line for members of the Congressional Black Caucus, but also Democrats in the House? The Congressional Black Caucus has come out against work requirements, along with members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. What are some of the red lines here? Because Democrats, it looks like, are going to have to vote for a bill.
Look, I don't believe in red lines. What I am for is work paying for itself. We believe that people should have good paying jobs. And unfortunately, as you indicated, we have some major corporations who not only don't pay a good livable wage, we literally have people who are in low-end jobs who also qualify for benefits. And I really want to underscore who we're talking about here. Overwhelmingly, the people who receive benefits under these programs are children. So are we really going to take food away from needy children, seniors, and veterans simply because the Republicans want to get their way? So we're willing to work with whoever on either side of the aisle, but what we're not willing to do is to have our constituents held hostage or for the budget to be balanced on the backs of the very people that we represent. That's not what the Congressional Black Caucus stands for.
You know, Congressman Horsford, you have just delivered a point that I had not heard from anyone at the White House about who is disproportionately impacted by, this benefits conversation around work requirements. You have actually called on President Biden to deliver a national address on what is at stake in these negotiations. How do you feel? First of all, has the White House responded to your urging? And then how do you feel that the White House has communicated is it well or not well with Democratic members of Congress, but also the American people about what's really happening here?
Well, I've been in touch with representatives from the White House. And look, I give credit where credit is due. And I also talk frankly. And what I'll just say is I think the president has the ability to use the power of the presidency to explain to the American people what is at risk with what the MAGA Republicans are doing right now in this moment. I think it's important for them to know the different provisions that he has put on the table in order to find cost savings in our federal budget. Republicans, Speaker McCarthy and others want to act like Democrats are spending too much. What President Biden put on the table in one case was actually a proposal to reduce prescription drug costs, which would save our federal budget even more money beyond what we're already doing in Medicare, and the Republicans walked away from that. So my simple request to the president is use the power of the presidency, talk directly to the American people on what's at stake, let them know about the dire situation that Republicans are putting us in. We're willing to negotiate. But what we're not willing to do is to be held hostage or have our constituents held hostage.
All right. We await news on the debt ceiling negotiations. Congressman, as you noted, you are in South Carolina today. The Congressional Black Caucus is launching this summer of action in an effort toward mobilizing Black voters. You're going to tour 10 cities, including many across the South. What can you tell us about this effort? And specifically, you are launching this on the weekend that falls on the 3rd anniversary of George Floyd's murder, where there are many Americans who are, especially Black people across the country, who are dismayed by the lack of action from Congress when it comes to police reform.
You know, I'm here in Charleston, South Carolina. It's raining, but I'm here because I know fundamentally what is at stake. And I want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus Institute, which is actually hosting this Democracy for the People with the leadership of Chairman Benny Thompson. We started here in South Carolina because all great things happen here in South Carolina, but it's also because of the historic nature of the issues and the rights that have been won in places like South Carolina. So yes, the Congressional Black Caucus Institute and members of the CBC will be traveling across the country this summer doing 3 things. Number 1, helping to educate our constituents about what is at stake. With the decisions coming down from the Supreme Court on voting rights, on affirmative action, on attacks on our fundamental existence that's happening in states, the banning of books, the elimination of Black history, these are issues that we will not be silenced on. The second thing is we're focused on voter registration and making sure that every eligible voter knows how much power they have to make change in local, state, and federal elections. And third, we're focused on organizing, talking to local constituents about what they can do to help organize and build a movement so we have the message to mobilize on the ground. We're here in South Carolina, but we'll be coming to another city close to you.
All right, Democratic Congressman from Nevada, Stephen Horsford, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. You are in God's country today. My husband is from South Carolina, so I do believe South Carolina is one of the best places in America. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Symone.